Hey guys, welcome back to another video. And as you already know, I love to do me some PowerPoints. So this time we're gonna have an interesting discussion of the anime Remake Our Life, the tragedy of Kyoya Hashiba. Now, the second part of that name isn't the actual name of the anime. It's just what I've dubbed it. Now, forgive me if I start sipping on water in between. I've been dealing with a lot of health issues, so I've been coughing nonstop. So here's hoping we could get through this video in a couple of takes. Alrighty, so let's get started. So the premise is a young, 28-year-old Kyoya Hashiba, who's the MC, which you could see on screen on the far right. He's the one with the white sweater. Then next to him, we have Akishino, who is an aspiring artist. Next to her is Nanako Kokure, and she is the aspiring singer. And lastly, we have Surayuki Rokuonji. I probably butchered all of those names, but you know, we pushed through. And he's an aspiring writer. So the premise of these are our four, not necessarily MCs, but the most ones that get a screen time. So Kyoya, again, the guy on the right, is the setting is 2016, and his company just failed. His gaming company that he works for just failed and went bankrupt, and everybody got laid off. So he moves back home because he's broke without a job. And during one of his outings, he runs into Aiko Kawasegawa. She isn't pictured on the screen, but she's the redhead from the anime. And she offers him a job. He loves it. It's also for a gaming company. They aren't able to meet the deadlines, and that company also fails, at least that project, and everybody on his team is laid off. So Kyoya goes back again home, broke, depressed, and he's in his room wondering, like, what would have been my life had I gone to art school instead of picking something safe like business or economics. I don't think we're entirely sure what degree he got in. He just said that he picked the safe route instead of art school because he was indeed offered to go to art school. He got the acceptance letter. So he's wishing that he could go back. He takes a nap. When he wakes up, it's 10 years in the past, in 2006, when he just got the acceptance letter. So anyways, each episode he's going to class, he meets these three guys, and ends up rooming with them. They all get a shared house together. And so that's the most part for like our quick synopsis, right? And yeah, each episode is basically of daily college lives of, you know, trying to pay tuition, doing extra shifts, trying to deal with the hurdles of young adulthood life. So who is Kyoya Hashiba? As we said, it's this guy on the right. And let's see. So one problem that we start developing in the series is that Kyoya tries to use the knowledge that he has from the future to start shaping his friend's path, which are, his roommates. And so, in the future, he knows that Aki is a well-known artist, and Nanako is a well-known musician, etc., etc. So, when they start dealing with struggles like, oh, I don't want to do music anymore, he kind of like forces his way in, if you could put it that way, to guide her. That's how he says it, to guide her in the right path. So that's what ends up developing as one of the biggest issues in the series is his savior complex. Now, really briefly, I know you can see on the screen, but I'll really read it really quick. If you're not aware, a savior complex describes the need to quote unquote save people by fixing their problems, which Kyoya constantly does. Like every single mistake or little hurdle, instead of allowing them to get that natural growth that comes from facing obstacles and trials and tribulations, he like interjects himself to prevent them from dealing with that. When saviorism is a component of service, the service is not aimed at justice or autonomy, but instead it becomes a series of band-aid solutions that make volunteers feel good about themselves. Now, momentarily in some of the episodes, you see them obviously happy, that they're able to solve the problems. However, they start having kind of like existential crisis where they feel like they're nothing without Kyoya. They feel heavily indebted to him, or what's the point of pursuing writing for Tsurayuki if Kyoya's just gonna offer better insight on rewrites and stuff like that? So they're all losing their own autonomy. Oh, before we jump to that one, so what ends up becoming um, this savior complex is that he's given them guidance that he wishes he would have had in his own life. Again, remember, in 2016, 10 years prior to the time leap, he was lost, he was by himself, no wife, no girlfriend, no job. So he wishes someone was there guiding him. And so he feels that's his role now that he's traveled into the past to kind of like set them on what he believes is the correct path. But it soon and quickly becomes clear that Kyoya doesn't actually want to help. It's more about control. Now, what do I mean by that is that he tries to rewrite their struggles, thinking that he knows better because, he's from the future, so he knows what their future is supposed to end up like, as if, like, fate is something set in stone that is unchanging. But growth needs struggle, and Kyoya is robbing them of that. So again, going back to the whole not having autonomy. And some of the examples for this is Nanako's music. So on 2 separate occasions, Nanako was trying to stop singing. One of them was when she was at the karaoke, and Aiko Kawasegawa kind of like blew up on her and was like, yo, you're actually a much better singer than an actress. Why aren't you chasing becoming a singer? And so he tries to like course correct for her and like edit videos for her of her singing and upload them online, basically setting her up for a music career. The second time he tries to do this is during the festival at the art school. She kind of has kind of like another mental breakdown, and she's like, yo, I can't sing in front of all these people like I sang in front of you guys for karaoke, but these are like hundreds if not 1,000 people. It's a lot. So she's overwhelmed and runs away. And instead of him letting her figure it out from there, he like chases her and it's like, hey, you have to do this. I know you're scared, but your music's good. Look, I uploaded all these videos online without you knowing. And so, he's again back to forcing himself in there, allowing absolutely no room for growth. For Aki, he also interferes, not as much as for Nanako. The only example that I really saw for her was during their game development, which I'll talk about for Tsurayuki. Pardon me, let me grab a quick sip. Was that they're developing this game and she kind of tried to interject her own creative designs into the game, and Kyoya was like, yo, you can't do that, we're on a time crunch. So she kind of felt artistically restricted, if that makes sense, which I believe that's what led to her losing her passion for art, especially, we'll talk about it in the next slide. And lastly, we have Tsurayuki, which we've already talked about, where he writes the script for this game that they're developing because they're trying to sell it so that he could afford to pay tuition and he doesn't have to go back home with his rich parents, who apparently are pretty obnoxious about him getting engaged in an arranged marriage and becoming a doctor, and that whole family drama that one has to deal with. But after the game's successful release and sales, even though they all make enough money for Tsurayuki to pay for his tuition and not drop out, he actually still ends up dropping out, which kind of shocked me until he had his speech with Kyoya. And in this speech, he tells him hey, I thought we could always collaborate, but it turns out that, compared to you, basically nothing. All the success of the game was because of you. You carried everything, and if it was just us, we wouldn't have made it. Which, to an extent, he is correct, because Kyoya was, pushing everyone to achieve their future success that he had already lived through. However, by doing so, he didn't allow them enough growth. So they became heavily reliant on him, and they don't feel like they possess the necessary abilities to get anything done on their own. So basically, Tsurayuki drops out of school, goes back home, and this absolutely shatters Kyoya, right? So this motherfucker decides to time leap again, and this time, as you saw before, because I spoiled it, he jumps into the future. This time he jumps to 2018, which is 2 years further down the line than his original quote-unquote timeline before the time rewind. It gets a little bit confusing. He's just jumping back and forth, as you'll see. So try to bear with me. So he didn't decide to go forward. This is how it just happened. He woke up and he was in the new timeline that is dubbed the marriage timeline. So when he wakes up, he finds out that he's married to Akishino, who was one of his roommates that was an artist, and they have a daughter together. And so basically the whole premise of this timeline is Aki gave up art. So everything that happened in the college timeline when he went back is still ongoing into this marriage future. And so Tsuruyuki still gave up writing. He's back home. He hasn't published any new writing under his name or the pen name that he had given Kyoya. We see that Nanako has given up on singing. Hold on, let me check. Okay, yeah. So Nanako gave up on singing, and she makes like a farewell YouTube to only 1,000 of her subscribers. Which, you know, holy shit, 1,000 subscribers, like, come on, man, that's already like top amongst content creators, because, you know, we've been out here for a while and we don't have triple digits. Not that I'm complaining, I'm just saying, like, you know, you should be happy about 1,000 subscribers. So basically she's saying goodbye to her fans, saying that, hey, I tried this music thing, it didn't work out, this is the last song I'm gonna make, farewell. And so Kyoya is even more depressed about this. So not only did he lose Tsuruyaki, the writer, now he has lost Nanako, the singer, and his wife, Aki, who was the like best artist in his original timeline, gave up art to become basically a housewife. And, you know, he can't live with that guilt that because of him, all three of their bright futures changed. So he feels directly responsible. Now, for him, he's actually doing fantastic. He has like a decent job in the game development industry. He works as a co-worker with Aiko Kawasegawa. She's like his department lead or whatever, not exactly the head honcho, that would be the president of the company, who, FYI, is kind of a jerk. But needless to say, those two have remained in contact compared to Nanako and Tsuruyuki. However, he does mention that Aiko's position is lower than what she had in his original timeline. So again, he feels responsible. And even though he feels responsible for it, he can't stop interjecting in their lives. So there's like a huge issue with a game that her team is developing. And again, as usual, typical Kyoya fashion, he interjects, helps her get the project out, etc., etc. And after they're able to recover from that project disaster and everything, Aiko says that she's gonna leave back home. So again, he's shattered and broken, doesn't know what to do, kind of wants to time reset again. So he chases her to the airport, thinks she left, but she actually didn't, and she tells him, I was thinking of going back home, but I changed my mind. And then he kind of has a mental breakdown and tells her everything that he's been hiding emotionally, the weight that he feels responsible for ruining, quote unquote, all of their futures. And she gets really upset at him. And she says, like, hey, dude, you're not responsible for people's futures. They have a say in their own decision. So even though you interjected your life in them, and they're interjected your opinions in their career or choices, it's still ultimately up to them to decide for themselves. And she even tells them, like, hey, I was thinking of going back home, but it would look bad on me as a person to run away after a game that had a recent disaster. So no, I'm gonna stay. And she did that all on her own before she knew he was gonna show up at the airport. So that was a small glimpse of growth. And of course, this motherfucker wants to still to turn back time. He goes back home and basically says goodbye to his family, even though by this time, Aki sees the art of one of the artists for the game that they developed, and it inspired her again to start drawing again, all on her own. Like, Kyoya had no say in it, and she wanted to get back into art. And she's like, "Hey, you're gonna need help around the house, and with our kid, if you want me, or since I'm gonna go back to drawing art, I want to tackle big projects, but I'm gonna start small." Um, and this is where I thought he was gonna have the biggest character development. I was like, yes, this is the timeline. Like, even though things aren't perfect, like they were in his original timeline, people are getting back to their passions. And I was like, okay, now it's time for Tsurayuki to show growth, and then for him. So things they're not perfect, but they're healing, and the people around him are recovering all on their own. Kyoya should be technically at peace because they're all going back to what they wanted, right? Like art, music. Oh, I forgot. By this time, Nanako made another video saying like, "Hey guys, I know I said I was quitting music, but I was reminded of a college friend, which she's referring to Kyoya, and it reminded me to keep giving all my best to music. So here's a new original song." So even she got back into music. So my hypothesis is, if he would have waited out a little bit more, Tsurayuki would have published new works under his pseudonym or even under his, original author name. But he just can't. So he is haunted by the guilt over changing other people's fates, and Kyoya makes a terrible, terrible choice. He resets time again, knowing damn full well it will erase the timeline where his daughter exists. Remember, 10 years ago, or I guess in this case in 12, she doesn't exist until this new one. So now you're talking about erasing an entire person's existence. This little girl is just gone. And it's because Kyoya can't live with the imperfection. It needs to be by the book of his original timeline. But remember, in his original timeline, he didn't go to art school and he didn't meet them. So what is bro even on about? So he can't accept that everything so he couldn't accept that not everything needs to be fixed. Like, as we've talked, you need to let people grow on their own, and they were showing that. And I was hoping this idiot would learn, but he didn't, and it's so upsetting. So he goes back again, resets it. Now, as you can see on the screen, what is the definition of insanity, folks? Doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. By now, this is the third time he has time jumped. The first time he jumped back 10 years from 2016 to 2006. He wasn't happy with what happened. Jump time again, 12 years in the future. Things were a lot better than the previous jump, but it still wasn't perfection to his standard, so he jumps back again. Now, we don't really get to see all the changes that are caused by going back again. He says he's not going to be involved as much, and he's going to let them do and make their own choices. But we can see that's not true, because they already made their own choices in the future timeline. Aiko already told him, you need to let people choose for themselves. If they don't want to pursue those passions anymore after you reset the timeline, then that's not your choice, buddy. You can't control people's lives. And Kyoya's ultimate chase for perfection is his ultimate flaw in the series as a character. He is not a hero. he is more of a tragic character where I understand what he's trying to do and like make them happy, but you can't force them to see what happiness is. So my question for Kyoya, if we sat down face to face, would be if you were to tell Aki that you guys were married in the future and had a daughter together, but you were so selfish that you couldn't stand the imperfection of everyone's career choices, and you decided to time leap again, thereby erasing your guys' child completely from existence, how would she feel about that? Would she hate you? Would she be okay with what you've been doing, playing with people's lives? Because essentially that's what you're doing. And I'm pretty sure that going back again is gonna have other consequences. Like you're not just resetting to the first original timeline. Because keep in mind, in that original time, you didn't go to college. So even just attending a college, even if you kept away from them, art college, sorry, um, you're still inadvertently affecting them. Remember, time jumping has consequences. Butterfly effect. Even the smallest, even the smallest thing. Harry, calm down. My little dog's running around crazy in the room. Come here, Bubba. Come here, Bubba. So, where were we? So, butterfly effect, right? If you step on a plant, like in The Simpsons, when they did a time machine, could have disastrous consequences for the future. So, what's the even in the shows like the Flash on CW, we saw that going back in time again and again to fix a mistake. Sure, you're fixing that specific mistake, but now 5 different ones branched out. And each time you're going back to change one of those mistakes, you're causing alternate timelines or mistakes to spread from there. You can't contain it. So my advice for bro would be, dude, just stop. I know you're a control freak. You want to be in charge of everyone and everything, but you need to chill. Let people live their own lives. Just because you were dissatisfied with yours doesn't mean you have control over others. So relax, my dude. So here are lessons unlearned. Let me scroll through my notes. So throughout the entire series, Aiko tries to teach him that you're not responsible for other people's choices. Ultimately, it's up to each individual to pick what they want. If your original timeline, they were successful artists, that was their choice. You had no influence over them. Just like you should have to respect their choices here. Sure, you're in their lives now, and obviously things are gonna change, but ultimately it's up to them. Also, you can't take over for their pain and suffering. People need to go through that in order to learn and grow and develop. So yes, obviously nobody likes to see their friends suffer, but sometimes pain is okay, guys. It's a part of life. It's a part of growing as a person. The most important lesson in the whole show, but Kyoya just ignores it. He claims he learned from it when he's talking to Aiko in the airport. But then, literally a couple scenes after, he resets the entire timeline. He wants to be their savior, but never accepts the consequences of saving them, right? So, in you know, the first time leap when he went to 2006, I know after all this time jumping it got confusing, Trust me, there's probably a lot more in the manga that I'm not caught up with, and I probably won't get into. Um, but try to bear with me. So the first time he went back in time, some of the consequences were that Surayuki no longer wanted to write. You have to leave him, bro. That's his decision. You already helped him the best you can, as a friend would do. And ultimately, it was his choice to drop out of college. It's not up to you to keep him there. Like, people are self autonomous. And sorry if I'm not using that term correctly. Alright. So, my perspective. So there's a quote I learned in therapy that Kyoya desperately needed to hear. Control what you can and let go of what you can't. So let me break it down in the simplest terms I can. Would be if you know it's gonna rain outside, there's no point in getting upset over the weather because you can't control the weather. That is out of your control. So you should let it go. Stop worrying about it. Don't get angry. It's gonna rain. Okay, cool, whatever. Now, what is under your control is you could prepare better. So if it's gonna rain, take a rain jacket, take a raincoat, whichever term you guys use in your specific country. Take an umbrella. Leave a little bit extra early in case that the roads are bad because of the rain. Like, there's precautions you can take that are within your control. So that's basically what I mean with let go of what you can't control, control what you can. Oh, pardon me. Now let's apply this to Kyoya. What was within his control as a friend and as a director of the game project was to help Surayuki get money to pay for tuition, right? And he did that. Bravo. I applaud you, my brother. You did what a good friend is supposed to do. What's not in your control is Surayuki's decision to still drop out even though he has the money for tuition. That is not in your control. You think it is because you have access to the ability to time leap. But ultimately, as we've seen 3 times, you're causing other, not necessarily accidents, but other distortions that you're not happy with. And ultimately, he's not going to be satisfied with any version. He has deep-rooted issues that bro needs to talk out with a therapist. I've always been a proponent for therapy, guys. Even if you don't feel like you need it, just talking to someone once a month that's unbiased, a third party, is tremendous help. Whether that's a therapist, a religious leader, etc., you name it. Just a third party that would be unbiased. And my dog's trying to drop my setup. Harry, lay down. Let's see. So, personally, if I wrote this story, Kyoya would return to his original timeline, where we start off the series, not to fix it, but to accept it. To finally stop trying to rewrite everyone else's life and start living his own. Personally, I feel that he shouldn't be in Aki, Nanako and Surayuki's lives because he's ultimately bad for them. While trying to be good, he's ultimately doing them more harm, and he just needs to stay away. As bad as that sounds, again, bro needs therapy, he needs to work out through a lot of issues. Why do you feel like you're not successful? Oh, pardon me, guys. Why do you feel like you're not successful if you're not meddling in other people's lives? Like, let people do their own thing, brother. Like, you can't keep controlling people's decisions. It's not up to you. So the real cost. So again, I haven't read the manga. I've only watched the 12 episodes of the anime. I didn't even watch episode 6.5, so I don't know what I really missed on that. But I just watched the 12 episodes, and going off of those alone, my hypothesis would be that Kyoya is gonna keep time jumping, ultimately trying to fix everything and put it back, quote unquote, together how it was originally. However, that's not gonna happen, as we've spoken before about the butterfly effect. Things are gonna change and he won't be able to accept it. Ultimately, he's gonna end up stopping from time leaping once something tragic occurs. Now, in my perspective, something tragic already occurred, which was that his daughter was erased. Other issues that have happened are careers have been derailed for Aki, Aiko, Nanako, and Tsurayuki. He keeps derailing their careers even after they've made their own progress. Emotions have been rewritten. Remember, on the original timeline, Aki didn't even know him. In the first time leap, she's his roommate and shares kind of like romantic feelings. We don't really know how it's gonna play out. He says that he's not really interested in her when he talks to Aiko, but he's kind of like flimsy, iffish about if he's gonna let her down or accept going out with her. And then in the time leap forward, the one in 2018, they're actually married. So that's already 3 times he's changed one person's emotions alone. Now imagine how that feels for Nanako, Aiko, and Tsurayuki. Like, you're not just controlling these people's lives, but their emotions. That's, in my book, that's despicable. You shouldn't do that. The realities are becoming twisted, and all for what? So he can feel useful. Now the cost benefit of that, the cons heavily outweigh the pros. Like, yes, you feel useful. Cool, you just played with these people's emotions and ruined their lives. Like, does that make sense? Like, it doesn't outweigh, like, the pros don't outweigh them. And Brony's, again, he needs to chill. So the question is, by the time he finally stops time leaping, whatever causes that, what or who will be left? Perhaps, I'm not saying this is what happens, again, this is pure speculation. Perhaps one of the Aki, Aiko, Nanako, or Tsurayuki die because of his time leaps. Maybe, Truck-kun, I don't know why I was blanking on that, Truck-kun hits one of them, God forbid, because of all that time jumping. Like, there's consequences to rewriting history. And, people, it shocks me that people don't understand this concept. Like, Back to the Future, The Simpsons did it. Like, there's consequences and, major events you shouldn't be messing with. Even Spider-Man did that. Remember how there's time set events. Alrighty, so we're getting close, guys. So some final thoughts. So Kyoya Hashiba isn't just a tragic figure. He's a mirror. For anyone who tries to control everything, who can't let go of the past, who thinks fixing others will fix themselves. So he feels that ultimately his failed future that he originally comes from, by fixing his friends, it's as if he's fixing his own. And obviously we know... What's up, Bubba? Come here. Obviously we know that's not the case. So, Remake Our Life could have been the story of growth, but instead it became a warning. What do you guys think? Was Kyoya justified in doing all these time leaps? Would you guys have done the same? I've actually been pondering this for about a day or two ever since I finished the anime. If I was put in that position, if I would also time leap. And ultimately I decided no. Because not only would I change the people around me, but probably even change myself unintentionally. Because all the scars, trials, tribulations that we go through are the people that we've become now. And if you take that pain and growth away, then you're no longer your original self. Now, sure, some of those changes could be for the better, but keep in mind, they could also be for the worse. It's a 50-50 gamble. And now, I'm not a betting man, but I don't like those odds of 50-50. Alrighty, so we're almost done. A couple more things, guys, before I end it. So, make sure to drop your thoughts in the comments below. What do you guys feel for Kyoya? Do you agree with what he's done? What would you have done differently? Do you think he has any room for future change? If so, by the time he reaches that change, what will he have lost? Remember, he already lost a daughter. She's completely gone from existence. So, sure, maybe him and Aki get back together and, have a child again. But what if it's a boy? Like, you're not gonna replicate that person again. And so, it seemed like he showed no remorse for losing his own daughter, which to me just made him even more heartless. And, I truly started hating him towards the end of the series. Let's see. Make sure to like the video, subscribe if you think it resonated with you, and let me know if you want me to dive into more of these animes like this. I really enjoyed doing this quick PowerPoint breakdown for you guys. I've always loved doing PowerPoints, as you've seen from my content. And so if you enjoyed it, let me know if you want me to do one for well, I don't know if I've had a lot to talk about for solo leveling, but recommend me some deep dive animes that you want me to cover if this was your thing. And again, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next time. Fin. So that's my little chibi model if you guys aren't familiar with it. So now we're gonna transition slowly to our end screen. Alright guys, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.